Yeah. Because it's the matter of life and death, right? We're talking about the matter of life and death. So there are certain practical topics that, it's worth for us to discuss about, So today we're going to be talking about suicide. Yeah. So I like to ask you guys, and then next week we were going to be talking about euthanasia, 即係安樂死. Next week we're going to talk about that. I'm trying to invite some people to come to speak about that. I'm trying. And then this week we're going to be talking about suicide. So this it's about like some practical ethics. And okay, so anybody here, we have asked about that before. Anybody here have friends or family have came across suicide before? Or actually, maybe usually we say it's our friend. 我哋啲朋友唔係我啊，通常都係講你嘅朋友啊。Yeah. Oops. Yep. Yeah. Any of your friends or family or that you have came across having ideas or actually have the experience of suicide? 有冇試過有朋友、有屋企人、有家人有試過經歷，或者有同學呀？It's very, very common now, in the secondary school. Actually, Miss Hong and I also had this experience, in our, in our work, in the school, that some student, I came across this matter, this issue, and we have to have a crisis management, how to deal with that. So I think it's very common, in Hong Kong, in the secondary school also, or primary school even. So any of you have the experience about that? 有冇人有對啲自殺或者朋友有自殺，或者同學或者屋企人有呢啲自殺嘅傾向或者經驗？有經驗嘅同學可唔可以試一試意啊？都有嗬，有，多謝你嚇。有冇其他同學有呢個經驗？或者有啲同學有啲朋友maybe or some of them have ideas， 即係未必做過，但係可能有呢啲想法啊，死鬼咗佢好過啦。What's meaning of life? I rather die. Like that. 有冇人都有呢啲朋友或者自己有呢啲經驗啊？想法啊？有冇啊？或者你唔想試驗唔緊要啊。If you don't want to raise your hand, it's in your heart. Actually, it's a very common issue, in Hong Kong. I like to share a very short story about my family also. Actually, my grandfather also passed away from suicide. 我自己嘅爺爺都係自殺身亡啊。When I was only like 8 years old, and he hanged himself in his house. 用條孭帶啊 with a piece of cloth like that in the house, because he was suffering from long-term illness, diabetic. 佢係隻腳係爛啊 so he was really suffering, in his house. So yeah, he had a very difficult time. I remember my parents used to take care of him and go to his house and wash his wound, 幫佢洗傷口。即係糖尿病啲朋友咧係好難好嗰啲傷口。Yeah, maybe at that time, it was long time ago. Actually, when I was 8 years old, so it's like 40 years ago, right? So at that time, people do not really, it was hard for them to have the knowledge to take care of their body. 即係有啲長期病患啊，我哋下個星期都希望請朋友上嚟係關於佢哋有長期病患。Yeah, some people have long-term illness. It's very hard for them. It's a big suffering. So they chose this method, 即係用咗呢個方法去了結佢嘅生命啊，覺得唔想再受苦啊。Well, actually, for myself, but because I'm a counselor myself, Miss Hong also a counselor, and in our perspective, we are very understanding, Yeah, well, for a student like yourself, maybe the pressure is very hard also. So today, what are we going to do today? I hope to equip you to be able to face this kind of issue. Yeah, like the story you mentioned about, it's like this student, she posted this photograph sitting beside a building, saying that she wanted to end her life. It was like what you said was very clear and very up to the point, that because this lady was in maybe the person, was in the middle of a crisis, a big pressure for DSE, and also having the problem of depression, have a lot of struggling, in that period of time. And then, like this PowerPoint, I'm also going to say that actually it's a way, it's maybe this suicidal behavior or intention is also a way to show that they want to seek help. They want to tell, they look for help. They want to tell people that they really cannot stand it anymore. It's very hard for them. For people who are facing mental health issues, physically, mentally, or psychologically, it's very hard. I'm very glad to hear that some of the other students also gave a helping hand and told the teacher, and also she was better, and after that crisis that she went through, and now she's in university and she have gone through the problem and she's better now. Yeah, it's very touching to hear that, but it's not everybody is so lucky that they can go through. So what I'm trying to do today, because as a student, we need to learn. Actually, any of you would say that you don't know how to handle, like if you have a friend like that, or a friend's friend like that, how or you would say that you know how to handle. 不如講係你識得點樣處理嘅，舉手啊，好嘛？識得點樣處理嘅 ，you know how to handle, right? Okay, no. You don't know how to handle， 唔知點處理嘅，舉下手，係啊。Yeah, so thank you for your 好多謝你哋啊。即係 you guys are very modest 好謙虛咁樣去表達。Yeah, it's not easy. Really, it's not. It's very hard. So what I like to share with you this lesson, I think is not only for this course. It's for general education. It's generally what we should know, because we are still young, and then our coming life, 即係嚟緊嘅生命，仲有好多日子要過，係嘛？ Maybe you would, come across friends or family or your partner or your girlfriend, your boyfriend, have some problems like this, because some people say, 我唔會有呢啲問題嘅，我唔會有呢啲病嘅，but actually in our lives there are so many ups and downs, we don't know. So it's good we equip this. So I would like to what I'm trying to do today is for us to rethink, 希望我哋反思下關於自殺吓。Usually, people are very negative about the issue of suicide, 係嘛？通常覺得好負面，係嘛？一陣間我會解釋點解咧。Why are we kind of, negative? But how do we define suicide? It's an intentional self-inflicted death. That means 我哋係自己想嘅去了結咗自己嘅生命吓。Yeah. So, but actually, it's very complex. 即係好似而家係好似好it's very like blaming the person to be responsible. 即係邊個負責咧？ We always see things like that on the news, and maybe bullying, or maybe other different issues that people kill themselves. Yeah, and then we often think why 點解係咪個人嘅責任？係咪社會嘅錯？係咪 is psychological problem or social problem or biological problem？ 即係其實係好多嘅問題，一件事咧唔係咁簡單話一個原因嘅。即係我想同大家分享 in many years of research that I'm dealing with a psychological problem， 好多時候我哋發現咧一個問題唔係話好簡單話因為咁所以咁咯，咁 it's not that. It's a very complex issue. So this is why we need to be educated to know that there's so many factors behind one incident. 好多嘅原因嘅咁some people use suicide as a coping method， 即係有啲人話用自殺好似一個方法 去處理佢件事。For example, they want to be in control because they feel so helpless, or they want revenge. 有冇聽過一個故事嗰個咩啊？7 Reasons Why 定 12 Reasons Why I forgot 係咪有套劇啊？你有冇睇過啊？有冇人聽過啊？There was this girl that she recorded. It was like a documentary. 係個 drama 嚟嘅，但係一個真即係比較真嘅故事。係 this girl 佢係拍咗自己 before 佢自殺，佢拍咗錄咗啲錄音，點解佢 why she killed herself， 跟住拍咗套劇出嚟。It's like 7 Reasons Why 定 12 Reasons Why， 即係將嗰啲即係所謂害過佢嘅人啊，或者令到佢有壓力嘅人講翻晒出嚟。即係好震撼啊！呢個劇嚇有冇聽過或者睇過 ？Anybody watch that before? No， 冇聽過。Yeah, maybe you're searching already. Yeah, how many reasons why I forgot? But it's 即係但係係好即係可能係報復啊。Maybe it's kind of revenge, or it's kind of way they look for help, like the lady just now or the person talked about taking a picture, put on the Instagram， 可能係想人哋幫佢啊。Or they not yet made the final decision whether they kill themselves. They are hesitating. They are thinking about that. It's a lot of reason. Like I said, maybe mental health issues or their choice, or mental health problem like depression, anxiety, or like my grandfather because of due to physical health problem. That the person cannot stand it anymore, or relationship break up， 可能分手啊，係嘛？有啲人好抵受唔到啊。一個拍咗好多年拖嘅女朋友或者男朋友啊，飛你咁樣講啊。Maybe somebody dump you, like after you go out for a long time, it's a relationship problem or divorce， 離婚啊。Actually, my father experienced similar thing, that my mom divorced him, and he wanted to kill himself。I'm not going to go into detail about that, but some people would say, 咁蠢㗎，即係好似喺度 judge 啊。if somebody dumped you, then you find another person 咯，so simple like that. But as a lot of times, things is not so simple. Why? Because for example, you have got along， 你同一個人相處咗幾年啊，或幾個月 even, then the person become a part of you.Psychologically, actually, 呢個係我哋嘅自我嘅建立啊。It's about the construction of self and identity that, then the person become a part of you. Like, for example, I also heard that this DJ, she tried to kill herself, GC Kobe, I think 邊個我唔記得啦。This DJ, she tried to kill herself because her mother passed away from illness. Then she was so sad that she tried to kill herself.And why was that? Is because when you get along with somebody so well, so long, the person become a part of you. 即係你嗰個同嗰個人相處咗咁耐，其實嗰個人咧係好似你嘅一部分啊。So imagine if somebody chop off your hand， 你會唔會好痛啊？如果你俾人斬咗隻手啊，或者斬咗隻腳啊，係咪好痛啊？So if somebody broken relationship also can be very painful.Even though it's like as if 冇嘢啦，走咗咪走，咪揾個歌咯。Like some people would say that， 人哋飛你啊自殺咁。Like some of the younger people, maybe that maybe it's their first love, first people they go out with. So that is very important for them because it's part of their identity， 係佢嘅一部分，好似死咗咁啊。And can you imagine if your son or if your daughter?Or if your parents who's very close to you that passed away, it could be very painful also. That's why some people, when their relationship break up, they found it very difficult to face because part of them has been lost. 即係一部分嘅自己咧係冇咗，係嘛？ Okay, so that's why we're starting to go into, understand, why people would kill themselves. We try to have another perspective. Before we understand 我哋唔知之前咧，可能我哋好多 judgment 嘅，話啱定唔啱啊？點解咁做啊？like that. But after we start to understand more, so maybe after this lesson, you would have a different opinion. So that's why today's objective is to understand suicide more and towards the end of the lesson, we hope to find some ways how to deal with it. If you have friends or family or yourself facing this issue, how we're going to deal with that. So today we will talk about that. Okay? Yep. Yeah. The statistics in Hong Kong actually is very high. What I want to say is in Hong Kong, the number of people who commit suicide is actually in the world is very high, but I'm not going to talk about the world because you might feel it's very distant from you. Actually, one person die every 40 seconds in the world because of suicide. Okay? 即係每一刻都有人自殺嘅其實 Okay, because so many people in the world. But in Hong Kong, actually, if you see this statistic, I'm not going to go into that. But if you think it's relevant, you can go into the statistics. Actually, it's around the highest people who commit suicide is the elderly people. Like I already mentioned that before, like the elderly people. And then actually every year in Hong Kong, there's about 700 something people kill themselves successfully. Okay. So like, how many days there are in 1 year? 一年有幾日啊？ 365日係咪？咁一個年就700幾人死喎。去到2019年咧，其實有成1000幾人死啊。2019年 because 有社會運動啦，有好多疫情啦，1000幾人新高啊，香港有 the highest， 即係成1000人啊。咁你諗下 ，so that means how many people die in one day？ 一日有幾人自殺啊？成功喎，即係一年有300幾日，當你有900幾人啦，係咪？咁一日即係有幾人死啊？嚇？2點幾至3個人死啦一日，係咪啊？ So can you imagine 即係香港其實我哋香港地方好細啊 ，very small place， and like 香港其實好心痛啊，聽到呢啲數字係咪？每日係 successfully 有2點幾至3個人成功自殺身亡。But nowadays the news don't even mention about it， 即係而家新聞都唔報啦。以前興睇報紙咧，報紙就 more details，if you read the newspaper。That they will report it, so people like that, they 喺屋企冇可疑，就自殺 ，no suspect, there's no, it's not a suspicious case, and then 咁就 case closed 係自殺 ，and then it's they kill themselves like that. But then nowadays we just only look for the internet for the news, and only big news come on the internet, right? Only big news come on the TV channels or the internet or Yahoo or whatever or Google. They come out only the big news. This kind of small news that nobody care. So actually we don't know, as if we don't care that people actually so many people kill themselves in Hong Kong every day. I have some friends who works in the ambulance or who works in the police force. They come across this kind of case very often. 即係喺個屋企嗰度自己燒炭啊，whatever method they use and successfully kill themselves. Yeah, it's very sad. And then mostly it's men who successfully kill themselves more than women. Women, they have more attempt suicides， 即係女士咧係多啲suicidal behavior。頭先同我都有講戒手啊 ，hurting themselves, self-harming behavior for women is higher, but for men is actually complete suicide is more. Well, there's so many men sitting here today. Oh, I'm so glad actually this class have many men here, because usually the class I teach is usually many women. Because we teach counseling, is usually ladies come for the counseling classes more. And this year, so many gentlemen joined this course. I'm so glad also. So of course I welcome the ladies also, but it's just that sometimes the gentlemen, I don't know why gentlemen do not join this kind of counseling course. I don't know why. Maybe you can tell me. So maybe can I ask you so many gentlemen here, can I ask you why that men would kill themselves more than women? 點解啊？喺香港多男人死啊，自殺雙倍啊，男人嘅自殺 in Hong Kong 2 times more than woman. If you look at the statistic in the website, I'm not going to show you because of the time. I want to leave you guys more time for discussions and talking later. So, and also we have the gift presentation, so I'm not going to go into detail. But I ask you, all these gentlemen in this classroom, why 2 times of Hong Kong men will kill themselves more than women? Very true. Your point of what you're saying is, before we study about the Chinese philosophy, right? And then, men have very high pressure in the Chinese society. It's true that, like, for example, it's just commonly believed that,女仔搵工if we find a job, 萬幾蚊唔緊要啦, like you get married already and doesn't matter your job as long as you're happy, but for men, your job, you have to get a job with good salary because you have to support your parents, you have to support your family, you expect to raise a family, you expect to have a house, you expect to give birth to your children, you expect to 養家，係咪啊？要 be responsible. 即係嗰啲壓力其實好無形啊，the pressure is very high, and recently maybe also it's easier for ladies to look for job because there's so many different jobs is suitable for ladies and more flexible hours, or maybe I don't know. But for men, when they consider their job, or their livelihood, they have to take a lot of consideration. There's a lot of pressure and a lot of expectation, like you said, from the family. 係如果都同意同學嘅講法，拍一下手啊！Okay, right? Yeah. This is a very good method because actually 我哋有個牧師咧係有視像嘅，咁咧佢想知道啲同朋友聽佢講嘢嘅牧師 there's a pastor who wanted to see the response of the audience, and he would say that 你同意嘅拍一下手then he would know people agree with what he says. Yeah, it's true. What you're saying is true. So it's a lot of pressure. It's really, really hard, both for women and men also in Hong Kong. Actually, Hong Kong is the place in the world, one of the highest pressure. So I want you guys to do this thing. 拍下自己膊頭啊！唉，試下4下咁做，得閒啊！唉，你哋香港人做得好好㗎啦 ，OK 啦，like that. I often do that. Whenever I talk to my friends, I often go around to talk to friends. I'm sure Miss Hong also do that, from the friends from church. And all of us are in very big pressure. All of us, different ages. So we always say, 香港人其實好大壓力，其實已經做得好好㗎啦，拍下自己膊頭啊，已經好好㗎啦嚇。Your age, in the middle age or older age, different age people, Hong Kong is very high pressure place. And then also from we talk about also from the different aspect of psychological problem and different dimensions of the philosophical tension from the East and the West. 香港中西文化嘅拉扯嚇。Okay, another thing is but then I want to go a little bit about the history because it's I come from the philosophy department, so it's my duty for this course to talk a little bit about the philosophical debates about suicide. But I wanted to tell you that in the old days, 即係喺以前舊有嘅辯論咧，都係講緊自殺係啱定係唔啱咧。in the old days 即係喺過往啊。咁而家頭先我都講啦 in nowadays we talk about psychological problem, we talk about social problem. 我哋講好多啲社會嘅問題，令到我哋做唔到一個好嘅決定啊，有時候。But in the old days, people, maybe the philosophers or the theologians 嗰啲神學家或者係啲哲學家，佢哋就會講係辯論所謂對與錯嘅一個 moral debates. So I will share a little bit with you also. So we talked about that last week, the Western philosophy, right? So Plato and Aristotle, in their time, they would say that they would think that death, it was evil. 佢覺得死亡係邪惡嘅。死亡即係冇咗生命啦，係邪惡嘅。 So that's why they would think that it was not good to take, life was good, right? For Plato 即係生命係好嘅，死亡係惡嘅。So that's why if you take away your own life, that means you are evil， 係咪？即係好 logical 啊，咁樣諗係咪？生命係好，死亡係唔好。咁如果你自己殺死自己，即係唔好啦，係咪 ？Yeah, morally, for Plato and Aristotle， 即係啲西方哲學嘅根源咁樣講啊，吓。So 即係話佢直頭話咧，喺雅典啊，以前啊 ，in the old days， Plato in his time，if you commit suicide， 如果你係自殺身亡嘅咧。You will be condemned， 即係你會俾人唾罵啦，俾人鄙視啦。即係 even some of them they have this historical record saying that their hands will be cut off， 即係嗰條人條屍咧，嗰個屍體會切咗個手出去。即係 that means they do not agree。But then Plato said unless， Plato 都有 exception 啦，佢話 unless you are in extreme distress or illnesses or poverty， 如果你係好病，真係好窮咁佢就話 OK 啦咁樣，即係柏拉圖咁樣有啲佢嗰啲文章度咁樣講。OK，and then also for Aristotle， 因為 Aristotle 咧就好講嗰個 moral virtue 啊，即係個品德啊、品格啊。OK，so for Aristotle。So he thought that generally suicide was wrong also， 佢覺得佢會喺度研究嗰啲人嘅品德咧，你係勇敢。Whether you have the courage, you are brave, or you are a coward， 即係有好多 dimension 咧，佢會睇一個人啊。So that means if you commit suicide, that means you are a coward， 即係你係一個懦夫啊。如果你係即係唔去面對你人生嘅問題啊，咁亞里士多德就咁樣講嘅。嗱，咁但係又講兩面講。So what's the meaning of suicide? I want to show you this picture， 蘇格拉底啊。蘇格拉底 ，anybody heard about his death？ 有冇人聽過關於佢點死噶 ？Anybody? No。蘇格拉底點死嘅咧 ？Actually， his teaching， 佢以前嗰啲 his teaching was very forward，very radical。佢嗰啲教嘅，即係佢嗰啲理論咧係好前衛嘅。So at that time, that a lot of people did not agree with him, and he offended a lot of the governors and a lot of the people in power.So he was put in trial， 即係佢講話佢咧嗰啲嘢太新啊，係得罪咗佢哋當時啲神啊神靈啊，得罪咗當時個掌權嗰啲人啊 ，and also 佢話佢咧就好似去帶領啲年青人咧就諗啲歪理啊咁樣講。So that's why at his time. So that's why he was put in trial, but he still insists that he was right because he talked about freedom, he talked about a rational thinking, he talked about we should think for ourselves. But at that time， 即係嗰啲人以前嗰啲人咧係唔會覺得我哋人應該要諗咁多嘢㗎，要即係聽啲掌權就 OK 啊咁樣，即係類似係 make it simple. So that's why he was put into trial。And then he was condemned。嗰時當其時嘅皇帝嘅掌權咧，係賜俾佢獨走啊，即係話佢係要死啊，即係要係將佢 execute him for what he has done. Actually, well, there was this record saying that he could run away, he could deny his sin, he could。say I'm not guilty, he could just run away。 其實係嗰啲人都俾晒佢落台啊，即係佢哋咁樣判佢，但係其實冇約束力嘅，即係可以走佬嘅。He could have run away, but he didn't. He actually, this very famous painting is that he drank the poison because the king asked him to drink the poison to be put to death, and so he did.So because that's why a lot of people think he was very brave, because also in his belief, he thought that similar with Plato, he thought that what you believe is more important than your life. Like, for Greek philosophers, they would think that, the ideas is more noble than your body, than your action, than your physical comfort.So that's why he insists on what he believed, and he drank the poison and he died. So all his students around him was very sad and they were mourning, and the teacher But because he pointing the sky, you see this picture was very good. So that means I believe on my ideas and I have my ideas, and he insists on that, and I'm not scared of death, and he drank the poison and he died. So would you think that's suicide? 係咪自殺啊？呢個係咪叫做？What's the meaning of that? I don't have the answer. You can think about that. So is that suicide? He could have escaped. There's no need, right? In Chinese thinking also 不自由無寧死係嘛？ In Chinese thinking also 是可殺不可辱啊，好多呢啲 thinking 啊。For Confucianism also 即係好多呢種嘅諗法嚇，即係殺身成仁啊。Even I kill myself, I have to be good. I have to follow what I believe is good, right? So you think about that, okay? Yeah. And then also another debate from the other angle, the Christians, because Christians believe also had very big influence in the Western world. And so in the 10 Commandments, it says, thou shalt not kill, right? 不可殺人係嘛？喺個十誡裏邊嗬。So generally, suicide is not right. That because God, they would think logically that God treasure life. God was the creator of life, and God gave us life. So we had no right to take away our own life. And also, in the Bible, in the Old Testament, there's a lot of the example also, but in Genesis, it says, for your livelihood, I would demand satisfaction. That means you should be happy with what you are given in your life. You should be thankful with your life, like that. So you shouldn't be committing suicide, taking away your life, right? And also in the New Testament, also the very famous story of Judas, 猶大呢個好出名嘅故事係咪？ He betrayed Jesus, right? 佢出賣耶穌 and he killed himself, hanged himself in the tree. 咁有啲人神學家就話啦 actually the sin of killing himself was even bigger than the sin of betraying Jesus, some people say. Because actually at the time, a lot of his disciples, 有好多佢啲門徒咧，後尾都驚啊，走晒啊 Peter and all this, they also, because they were scared of death, so they also ran away. But then they repent, 佢哋走咗之後又翻嚟嚇，又得到聖靈嘅感動又翻嚟。But Judas 猶大就冇去悔改啊， he just very sorry for, we don't know whether he's sorry for his sin or he felt guilty or what. So, but then anyway, I'm not going to go into detail, but he killed himself. So a lot of the theologians would say that it was not right, for him to kill themselves. We should repent, 即係要悔改啊，要感恩啊, like that. Yeah, so we shouldn't, and also this another theologian, Aquinas, he also said that we should not take over God's judgment because only God can decide whether we live or die, right? That is the Bible saying that 我哋一條頭髮變白變黑，我哋都唔能夠影響，係嘛？我哋都唔能夠做到啊！而家可以染頭髮啦，但係naturally you cannot change your hair black or white, right? In the Bible it says, so we should respect God's decision on our life and shouldn't be, taking our own lives. So a lot of theologians having this kind of belief, 即係都係啲辯論話關於啱與錯呢個問題嚇。Okay? Well, but then again, in Christianity, there's also some stories about martyrdom, 即係嗰啲叫做殉道者啊，有另外一個 perspective 啊。like for example, in the right-hand side, right top corner, there's 第一個殉道者 the first martyr in the Bible was Saint Stephen 史提芬嚇。So at that time, he was telling the truth and the belief in the Bible, similar to Socrates, actually, 好似有啲似蘇格拉底咁啊。He said what he believed, 佢就講俾當其時嘅人聽佢嘅信仰，同埋 what was wrong about the people around him, and he was killed. 即係佢就啲人打佢，佢都照講嚇，照講佢覺得係點樣係啱。So he still insists what he thought was right, and in front of this angry crowd, and he was killed. He could have escaped, he could have kept quiet, but he he was killed. Okay, and then also you saw probably more recently 你睇到馬丁路德金啦，係咪 ？The Black American, he stand for like the fairness, the equality about races, and then at that time it was very offensive to some white people that that the black people seems to be in the lower class, and then but he stood up and speak for the rights for black people, and he was assassinated， 即係俾人暗殺咗馬丁路德金，有聽過個故事啊？係咪？ So actually it was very dangerous at his time to speak something like that, but he still did it, although he knew he was going to be killed。Okay, and then this other guy 黃志明都係我哋中國人嚟㗎，喺呢個Cultural Revolution 即係文革嘅時代he was a pastor， 佢係傳道人啦、牧師啦 ，and then why he died was because 即係嗰時咧 people were condemning a lot of the landlords， 即係嗰啲地主啊，嗰啲有錢嗰啲咧喺嗰個 in the Cultural Revolution they were condemned， 即係俾人哋批判啊，要跪玻璃啊 like that. But then this guy 黃志明 he refused to take part in this kind of condemnation, so he was executed. He was executed in front of 10,000 people. 即係佢係唔願意同人哋一齊去批鬥嗰啲地主，咁佢就俾人判監，跟住就判死刑。And then he was executed in front of 10,000 people， 喺1萬幾個信徒面前係俾人哋即係死刑。Okay, so you can see that if you have the chance to go to UK for holiday， 呢個西敏寺有冇人去過啊？英國嘅Westminster Abbey 有冇人去過西敏寺喺英國？咁咧呢個係新起嘅，啲 newly built wall in 喺西敏寺有10個咧係 there's 10 of them were 喺呢個最近嘅20世紀嘅 in the 20th century 20世紀嘅殉道者 the martyrs in this recent 20th century for different reason。 咁馬丁路德金啊同埋呢個黃志明都係喺嗰度。So is this suicide? Is this suicide also? Because they knew they were going to be put to death. They knew they would die, but they still do what they believe. They still do it. Was it suicide? Or what was the meaning? If you think was suicide, 即係話自殺式行動啊，真係，係嘛？ But then actually, what was the meaning of this suicide? If you would think there was suicide, 即係個意義喺邊度咧？死係有輕於鴻毛，重於泰山，係咪？ Chinese believe also.There's the different meaning of death, and then there's meaning. So up to you to think about that. Okay, different perspective of suicide. And then in the Eastern culture, 喺我哋東方嘅社會都有好多自殺嘅講法喎。For example, for Indian 嗰啲印度教嘅人咧 in Hinduism, it was very in fashion that the widow 嗰啲叫做寡婦啊 if your husband died, that the widow should follow the husband and commit suicide。 我哋中國都有啦，嗰啲貞節牌坊係嘛 that some of the women also after the husband died, some of them will never marry again, or some of them even kill themselves， 跟住又即係好烈女啊係嘛，轟烈啊係咪啊 that they would praise this kind of behavior， 會覺得係哇好忠貞啊so you see this picture of this Indian picture. It was very common, this kind of practice before the Western ministry went to India. It was very common, and then it was condemned, or it was banned also. The Western ministry people suggest that it's not right, it's not moral, for the woman to do things like that. Okay, and then another thing is Japanese 嗰啲武士道精神啊 the seppuku, right? 武士道精神that a lot of them would, I didn't put the picture there because I think it's so scary. 特登我唔擺張相，嗰啲武士道精神佢哋會點啊？切腹係嘛？ Yeah, they cut themselves up to show that their loyalty to their leader. Actually, the meaning was they have nothing inside, they have nothing to hide, right? So they kill themselves. 係好一個好 for Japanese, actually, suicide could be a very noble behavior. 係嘛？啲日本人好興嘅自殺係咪好 popular? They thought it was like a very noble, 係好受人尊重嘅嚇，即係呢啲咁樣嘅行為。And then also in the old days for Chinese people also 好多啲皇帝死咧 when the king died, a lot 好有啲神民啊神人啊或者有啲 some of the minister or some of the wives 都係要陪佢一齊陪葬啊係咪啊 So you can say it's suicide or maybe it was forced suicide that it was noble for the wives or for say 君要神死神不可不死啊係嘛Yeah, okay. Yeah, some of the people who also follow the king to die, right? So what do you think about all this? Is in different culture, there are different meaning in all this kind of the suicidal behavior. A lot of meaning, different meaning in all this. Are they justified? Or what do you think about it? You can write about it in your reflection paper, if you're interested in this topic. You can write about it, what you rethink about this, So actually what I'm trying to do is actually one topic or one issue is not so simple. So in different culture, in different religious perspectives or different philosophical perspectives can have different meaning. People do things for different reasons, for different beliefs, because they have different beliefs or different understanding, right? So this is why I'm sharing with you all this. Okay. Hopefully. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Thank you, Miss Hong, that she found the movie, 13 Reasons Why. It's not 12 reasons, not 7 reasons, but 13 reasons why. It was a very controversy whenever it came out because people were arguing whether they should make such a movie or not because it was talking about this girl tried to take revenge by having the suicide to punish or to voice out about people who bully her. I didn't watch this movie before, but it was very controversy when it came out a few years ago. Yeah. And also about this movie, I also missed to tell you, 遊山節考 is kind of an older movie. I don't know whether you heard it or not. It was about, it's this Japanese movie. It was about, actually in the old days, the Japanese older people were sent to the cold mountains because, what was the very little of the resources at that time. Because people had not enough food to eat. So it was a practice in some of the small province in the Japanese mountain, that these old people were left to death. 即係送上孭上個山度去由得佢死啊吓 This older woman, maybe above 70 or about 80 years old, to save the resources for the village that these old people were left to die. 即係遊山節考 So it's very sad. But actually this kind of practice is very normal among the animal also. 啲動物都係啲老獅子啊 Maybe the old lions, when they will also starve themselves. They would, get away from the crowd, 即係由佢嗰啲族群嗰度離開，佢自己咧就餓死自己，就唔使個族群去照顧自己啊。Some animal also do that. Some maybe even the big lions. If you watch National Geographic Channel, they often show things like that. So this kind of suicidal behavior also is rationalized or have reason due to different reason also, Okay, so that's all for that. And then also, in the 17th century, starting, maybe since Sigmund Freud, 弗洛伊德17世紀開始咧 as people are starting, to be getting away from the debate of moral issues only or religious reason only, but people starting to have the awareness about mental health problem. Mental health problem contribute, like for example, actually if people who commit suicide is usually they have very serious depression. So a suicide is like a product of mental health problem. So like even, for example, like maybe my grandfather who passed away because he killed himself due to the diabetic, but maybe actually it was very likely that he was in depression also. So some people start to argue, to debate that also that means some people cannot be blamed, responsible morally. We cannot just, think about the moral issue, whether 係啱定係錯, whether it's right or wrong. We shouldn't condemn the people. We shouldn't be judging. 唔應該去批判嗰啲朋友佢哋有咁嘅傾向啊。It was because they are facing mental health issues, schizophrenia, Alzheimer, or bipolar, or all this is very, very hard. So it's not that they could make a choice. Their choice is limited because they are in real suffering and they are having mental health problem. Okay. So let's also do a little test here. For psychologists, 即係心理學嘅角度啊，people who suffer from depression have these 9 symptoms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 至10個 symptoms. Okay, maybe you can take a look whether you or your friend. Yeah, I'm sorry. Can we discuss later? Maybe let's have the class first. Then this will help you to do your reflection paper also. Or maybe the elderly you face also have, maybe in the second interview, they might tell you I know that some of the elderly also face very serious depression issue also, or some even might have suicidal thoughts or thinking. So this is useful for your interview also. So I hope you can listen first and then we can discuss the practical stuff. I will give you time later. Don't worry about that. Yeah. So about but this issue also, is a very useful tool that is the basic symptoms of depression. Maybe you can take a look whether you have depression. But of course, for me and Miss Hong and I, we are counselor. We don't do assessment for people. We usually also we would rethink about the assessment, whether it's accurate or not, to give a label to a person to have depression or other mental issues. But it's kind of useful also if you do like a self-test or self-assessment, or when you help friends or family members that you have this list in your hand, you kind of briefly know whether the person is suffering from depression or not. So it's useful tool, but it's not like it's not like an absolute answer. But it's useful also to a certain extent. So maybe you can take a look for yourself also, whether in the past 2 weeks, whether you have persistent depressed mood, 有冇人有好 down 嘅 mood 啊? Or something you usually very interested in that you lose your interest. For example, you used to like dancing or you used to like karaoke, but these few weeks you lose your interest. You don't want to karaoke anymore, for example. Okay. Or you suddenly, you lose your weight a lot, or you suddenly gain a lot of weight for the past 2 weeks, like that. Or you feel very agitated that you cannot sit down. You feel hyperactive suddenly. Or you feel retarded, or that means that maybe sometimes you cannot think. You feel that your mind is frozen, or you have this big feeling of guilt, or you feel very helpless or worthless, or you feel very hard to concentrate, to focus, or you keep thinking about death. You keep thinking about killing yourself, or what if I die?如果我死咗就好啦，咩問題都冇晒啦。This kind of thinking, it keeps attacking you for the past 2 weeks. If more than 4 or 5 this kind of symptoms happen to you, I really highly recommend you would, look for help. And actually, I 賣下廣告啊, in BU, there's a very good counseling service in the student affair office, free counseling service. 我成日都話啦，有病醫病，冇病補身嚇。Even some people they misunderstand that 輔導呢啲有問題先去見嘅啫。Or if you have problem, then I go for that. 我冇事啊，我冇問題，我唔會 I won't want to see counselor or psychologist. But actually, what I believe is 有時睇下中醫調理都係好好噶，係咪啊？ It's not that when you have a problem, then you go. There's so many athletes 啊，好多運動員喺度啊，琴日喺我哋嘅課堂啊，好多時候運動員嗰個心理質素都好重要啊，係嘛？ For student, for very, very important, the psychological fitness of athletes or normal people also. So even if you do not come across any psychological problem, it's good. It's good to look for a counselor, to have somebody to talk about your problem, your issue, or maybe you're thinking about your career, or you're thinking about your family, or what you're thinking. Is highly recommend you or your friends. I would encourage people to go for counseling service. 即係咁好啊！喺大學咧，但係你之後出嚟做嘢咧 later on when you go to work, when you leave BU, you have to pay for it. Okay, then you are in BU, you have free service, free counseling service. Why not use it? Why not try it? So I really highly recommend. Or if you do not know about the counselor, if you trust me and Ms. Hong, you are welcome if you have any problem or issue to email me, to drop a few notes to tell me about your problem. I also have the experience of some students. They are very, very nice. They will share about their problems or issues in the reflection paper. And then after that, starting from there, they will start to look for a counselor to talk to them. And, so I highly recommend. Yeah, 即係咁抵咁好又免費，點解唔去用下咧？係咪？ Yeah, I think it's very good. So I think the counselors in universities are very experienced, and it's very worth for them. 即係傾一次都好好啊，其實即係好 highly recommend 你哋去試下。OK。即係話你等於 like for example, we are doing this kind of counseling for the elderly people 係咪？而家我哋即係對啲年長嘅長者，我哋都做緊呢樣嘢，同佢傾偈。咁你都未試過去呢啲服務啊 ？If you do not have the experience of having this service， 即係你去 sell 啲化妝品咧，你自己都要用下啲化妝品係咪 ？If you want to sell this product 幾好㗎，揾人傾下偈啊，if you tell your friends, oh it's good, to have somebody to talk to, but then you never done it before yourself, then it's hard for you to sell the product, right? So it'd be nice if you could also, try it. 有時間去揾人傾下 ，OK? Yeah, for people who face mental health problem, sometimes, they really have, some people say that they have tunnel vision. 即係好似咧，而點解會啲人有 mental health problem 會咁容易有所謂有自殺嘅傾向咧？有即係 psychologically maybe this kind of old-fashioned thinking also, but some psychologists would say that they have tunnel vision. 你試下咁啊，你試下將隻手咧，好似整一個隧道咁啊，試下咁樣睇嘢啊。See what I'm doing now? You can try that. 即係好似整個望遠鏡咁樣睇嘢啊。That is tunnel vision. It's like, whenever you want something to sort out some problem, if you are facing mental health issues, 有時你有啲即係精神困擾啊，或者你好負面啊嗰一刻啊。Maybe you feel very negative at that time. Maybe you feel you have limited resources and limited perspective. 有時你嗰個眼界啊，可能因為一啲負面嘅感受啊，會收窄咗啊，好似睇唔清楚你嘅前面嘅路啊，係咪？有時候我哋任何人都會發生啊。It happens to any of us. Sometimes we feel very negative, we feel very sad, or we feel angry, or we feel unhappy about certain situation. Sometimes we could have very limited perspective. So I also likewise, I hope we also will not judge the people who commit suicide, or will not judge people who facing mental health issues because of their health, because of maybe physically or mentally situation. that they could have limited perspective， 即係有時佢哋個眼光可能會某啲因素影響，有時你覺得我唔知點解我唔知你有冇經驗啊 whether you have experience， 有啲同啲朋友傾偈，點解佢咁負㗎？佢傾唔到啊，放負得咁緊要啊，即係好似傾唔到偈咁。But what we should do is we try to be understanding， 要嘗試去諒解。到我哋同啲長者傾偈都係嘅，可能你嗰啲長者可能點解佢哋咁個眼光咁窄㗎 ？Why do they have such narrow perspective, or they do not know how as much as we do? But we try to be understanding and respect them because sometimes their experience or their physical situation is not as fit as us, or not the same with us. 咁我哋要去諒解對方個情況吓 ，OK， 唔好批判，唔好去 judge 啊 ，OK。Yeah， 我想講下關於自殺嘅一啲嘅謬誤啊 ，some myths about suicide。OK，some people do not want to talk about it, or even some teachers， 或者嗰啲可能政府都話，唔好講咁多啦。可能之前我都聽過有啲高官啊，唔講邊個啦，即係話，越講得多啲學生啊，越講得多就越激發佢哋自殺㗎，唔好講咁多啦，係嘛 ？Yeah， 我聽到真係爆炸啫 ，Yeah， 即係 very very disappointed. Some of this very old-fashioned thinking， 話你越講得多，越撩起去講咧，佢就越 provoke佢就越會去諗呢啲自殺。But actually, it's the other way around. It's wrong. Actually, the more you talk about it, the less likely you would do it. The more likely, it's not that, but we cannot calculate like that. But the thing is, the more you talk about it, the more likely you can get help. This is what I mean.Like the more we talk about it, the more solution, the more of the feelings and the point of view of the person come out. Then the person can sort out their lives more, the more we invite them to talk about it. 講得越多係越可以將嗰個人嘅潛能啊、能力啊，佢哋可以講返出嚟，佢哋自己嘅選擇啊 ，you know? Yeah.And and then another myth was that suicidal subject, some of them like they 有啲人話講咗就唔會做嘅，做就唔會講噶啦。有冇聽過呢個啊？會講嗰啲人唔會自殺嘅，咁有冇人冇聽過呢個啊？有啊，但係 it's totally wrong because some people they want to talk about it. Actually, 佢哋唔係想去。It's not that they want to threaten somebody. It's say they really want to seek help. 佢真係搞唔掂，佢真係要揾人幫啊！唔係話佢講咗就唔會噶啦，講咗出嚟冇噶。It's wrong. 我話俾你聽係，其實有啲人咧 ，some people they repeatedly fail to be able to kill themselves. They keep doing it, and then eventually they succeed. 即係有啲人係有呢啲經驗去自殺或者自殘咧，係佢哋相對 the chance of will have a complete suicide, the chance is higher。即係佢哋有講得越多，係越有機會係真係會做嘅，真係會甚至乎成功啊。So that's why if people talk about it, or if they have 即係有一次試過死唔去，可能 some people they fail to have a complete suicide， 係好大機會佢會再試嘅。As a chance in the research, they say they have very high chance they would do it again. So 即係唔好鬆懈，以為佢都死過啦，死過都死唔去啦，唔使理佢啦咁。Don't think about that. They would have a chance, you know. And then, yeah, some people say, when they recover, 即係可能佢個抑鬱好返啊，佢就冇事啦。No, it's not right. And some people say, 嗰啲好 educated. Some people very educated. They are very professional people. They are rich people. They do not have the chance. They have lower risk of suicide. It's also wrong. 就話讀咁多書應該唔會自殺啩？啲人讀好多書，有啲人係中產啊，或者 people who earn a lot of money, professional people, very smart people, they also would commit suicide, or they also would hurt themselves. So don't think that 唔會噶啦，佢咁叻，佢搵咁多錢唔會啦， you know, it's myth, okay? And 有時咧sometimes suicide is also have warning, but sometimes suicide have no warning. You know, it's either way also. So we have to pay attention about this, okay? Yep. Yeah, and then I want to, start to talk about some postmodern thinking about suicide. Well, in this course, we are teaching you narrative therapy. 我哋都有學敘事治療，係咪？ And then I have been teaching you about postmodern thinking, 即係啲後現代嘅想法。頭先一路都有講緊㗎啦，其實 yeah, like I said, the traditional thinking that we would judge whether it's right or wrong， 但係 postmodern thinking 其實係更加再反思。頭先我哋嗰個關於 just now we talked about psychological thinking is more modern, it's more modern thinking. Postmodern thinking 係直頭 go beyond， 直頭係唔係淨止係講呢個心理嘅。It's not only focused about psychological issue, it's also about rethinking about psychological issue. We go further than just focus on psychological issue or personal issue. Not only just modern thinking, but postmodern thinking is okay. Some people say that it's people's choice. We do respect. We respect some people, even you try to help them, they still choose to do something like that. But people have the autonomy. They have ways to questions about their own meaning of life. People have rights to do that. 即係人係有佢哋嘅權去反思或者去甚至乎去推冧佢自己嗰個人生嘅意義嚇。能唔能夠重建係下另一回事嚇。But then what I want to say is, actually just now I have been telling you, it's not only psychological, it's not only social, it's not only personal, but all of it add up together 係好多個因素，可能歷史嘅因素、背景嘅因素、政策嘅因素 policy, or there are some people in the world are higher risk than other people。即係頭先話有啲人係有錢係咪會特別冇事啊？ Maybe the rich people have lower risk. Maybe some people smarter people, but actually there are so many factors we have to take consideration. Like for example, maybe some groups of people are more vulnerable than the other groups, and there are a lot of inequality in the society. 可能喺個社會度有好多不公義嘅事，例如種族啦、性別啦、性小眾啦。Or the sexual minorities, or some people are less educated, or they have traumas, 曾經有好大嘅傷痛啦，可能 maybe due to war 戰爭，或者係佢嘅自身嘅屋企，maybe they are minorities, or maybe they are unemployed, maybe they have been exposed to violence, they are the marginal groups. That's why 唔係咁簡單， it's not so simple that some people have higher risk than the others, but we have to take into consideration all of the factors 喺呢個後現代嘅眼光裏邊係撈埋一碟嘅。You see this diagram? In the pre-modern, maybe in the classic world, 即係嗰個現實或者個真實咧係好 absolute 嘅。The reality is just one point. But then, in the modern world, maybe we have a line, like a cause and effect is a line. But in the postmodern world, it's all mixed together. It's all mixed together. It's many, many, many factors. So whenever you talk to the person telling you about their problems, like that you are doing it so we are starting to think about the second interview, right? We are thinking the second interview, how to ask these questions. We have to have the attitude that maybe some people have a lot of problematic storyline. Their stories are very negative, but the power in the society is not absolute. We have to rethink about all these things, and all this their realities. 即係佢哋嘅人生可能有好多樣性嘅，有好多 there are many realities. Like 同你溫一溫書下，之前同你哋學過 narrative therapy, okay? Yeah, and all these things can be very complex, and their self 佢哋個自我可能好液體化嘅。There's many, we shouldn't oversimplify， 即係唔好咁過於簡單化咗人哋嘅故事。哦，你咁樣講，你個女咁啊，我明白啦，係梗係咁噶啦，係啦，yeah. We don't oversimplify. We keep listen. We keep the listening. Yeah. Sometimes we listen to the start of the story and we thought, we got it， 我哋以為我明啦，因為咁啊嘛，你個女咁，你所以咪咁咯，好快回應啦。We give a response very quickly, but actually we should pause and keep listening and try to facilitate the meaning-making process， 繼續去俾佢哋嗰個意義咧，嗰個意義繼續去即係編織啊，繼續去編織嚇。Okay, so it's not that simple. Okay, so yeah, like I said, there's some people have high risk. For example, like I mentioned a lot already, people have relationship problem, people who have gone through war, like, maybe the elderly person that we come across, they have gone through, very complicated family issues. Maybe they were migrated, some of them are immigrants. Maybe some of them are refugees， 可能係難民啊，可能係曾經俾人歧視啊 ，discrimination， or they were isolated， they were excluded， they have trauma， 曾經俾我都聽到有啲長者係曾經被 abused，maybe because in their period of time， the girls especially a lot of girls were also abused and being excluded， 即係俾人哋好睇唔起啊，可能係有啲人係好多曾經經歷過走難啊 ，yeah, so these people have higher risk of mental health problems, higher risk for suicidal problems. So I would think maybe the elderly person you interview also probably have high chance also have mental health issues because they have gone through so much in their lives， 係咪啊？呢啲都對你有幫助，對你哋個 project 有幫助嚇。Okay? Yeah, maybe they have lost their loved ones. Some of them, like last week, you share. Some of them gone through cancer. Some of them gone through they lost their parents. They lost their partner. They lost their sisters and brothers. 即係好多呢啲佢哋都無形嘅壓力啊！好多佢哋都覺得，嗰時係咁噶啦，10個兄弟姊妹死剩我哋幾個咋。But can you imagine if your sister passed away in front of you? If your brother passed away in front of you? It's a lot of stress accumulated. 即係我哋好似佢哋自己都覺得冇嘢，10個兄弟姊妹得幾個生還咋。Maybe for them it's like you take it for granted. 以前啲人係咁噶啦，生10個死5個咁樣噶啦，But we should take it seriously. We should take into consideration and try to have the empathy， 即係有同理心啊。如果你試下，可能你個屋企人喺你面前，即係有咩事啊，你會點啊？我就會發癲啊！I will be hospitalized. OK， 我會入醫院啊，即刻。OK， 但係呢啲長者佢哋好堅強啊，佢哋都好多都面對，覺得好似冇乜嘢咁樣，好似冇乜嘢。但其實係咪真係冇乜嘢咧 ？Is it really true？ 即係有時我哋會incongruent 啊，即係表裏不一啊，好似表面好似冇乜嘢，但係個心喺度淌血啊，明唔明啊 ？So we have to be sensitive, towards maybe in their hearts there are a lot of problems. Okay? So yeah, OK， 同你哋溫一溫即係 narrative therapy 啦，點樣對呢啲所謂有自殺傾向嘅朋友啦。It's like I said, we shouldn't judge. We should just take a look at their broader, 即係唔係淨係 focus on personal problem, not only focus on personal problem, but we focus on a broader perspective, 社會嘅一啲嘅拉扯，佢哋嘅歷史嘅背景，每個人嘅 historical background, the cultural background, the political background, maybe, 即係佢哋可能有啲好喺某啲國家走過嚟。係華僑或者乜嘢 and then they have very different background and 係好多壓力maybe a lot of different tensions. 咁 we have to accept them unconditionally and try to build a relationship with them so that we can talk with them. Okay? Listen, not generalize. 唔好以偏概全，唔好好似頭先講話都已經 assume 冇嘢啦咁樣。We are collaborating with them， 同佢哋一齊合作去。講呢個故事嚇 ，we collaborate 係大家嘅平等嘅 ，we are all the same 即係平等嘅位置嚇，OK to collab 同佢哋合作去攞佢哋啲故事嘅資料嚇 ，OK and then we facilitate 喺好多層次嘅 conversation not only one dimension 唔係淨係 focus 一樣嘢裏邊你自殺點解自殺啊唔好自殺啦 you know like that not only focus on one layer but try to talk different layers like last week Miss Hong also talked about okay if the elderly talk about this issue maybe away from your question guide it's okay we can, you know, continue to follow their storyline and understand their story. So it also the same apply to the people who face suicidal problem. Maybe 可能你個心裏邊有你嘅 agenda， 你好想佢唔會死，你好想佢唔好負面，你好想佢 you want them to be not suicidal, you want them to be not negative. But actually when we listen to somebody's story, 我哋要放低我哋自己嘅 agenda.We have to put down our own agenda and listen to their story and let them do their processing 俾佢哋自己去處理佢哋嘅嗰個嘅故事嘅脈絡 OK non-directive 都係嗰啲啦即係上次都教過啦唔再重複啦 OK 有啲例子 there's some question sample about suicide is quite useful I saw in this research I would like to share with you like for example 呢個What do these suicidal thoughts say about what you treasure? 即係可能其實嗰個自殺嗰個人呢，佢可能係想保護緊一啲嘢㗎。佢可能覺得，我死咗就乜乜乜乜乜啦，我死咗就唔會乜乜乜乜乜啦。Maybe 我死咗你哋就冇咁辛苦啦。There's a lot of reason. I also heard this story about this young girl who also complete suicide. I heard about her story.其實佢一路就話寫個遺書俾佢媽咪，佢就話我唔想媽咪咁辛苦要照顧我咁多問題。If I died, all these problems will go away. For my mom, she said that. So 有時即係咁，當我哋同呢啲朋友 when we talking to these people， 即係唔係淨係一味話唔好死啦，你唔好自殺唔好啦 ，not like that. But we go into the story and ask 點解你會諗呢個方法咧？呢個方法呢個策略背後有咩嘅 behind this strategy what is the values what is the thinking 你又諗緊乜嘢㗎你背後有咩意義㗎呢個呢啲or 第三條呢啲自毀嘅 suicidal 嘅方向其實係點解會可以你會揀呢個辦法啊 Why you choose this method and why this method is useful 即係點解呢個方法你覺得係成功嘅咧點解呢個方法係 upper hand 嘅咧係成功嘅咧係 OK 咁 so the person will think about it 即係嗰個人會諗其實呢個係咪真係一個 useful 嘅方法咧 Is it really a useful method or any other method 但係唔係我哋夾硬去逼佢轉而係嗰個人自己去諗有冇其他嘅 Is there any other strategy the person can think about it why they chose this method and their full story 成個故事係點樣嘅咧係咪你或者有時咧有啲人可能自殺不遂或者係自殺人士甚至乎社會都會俾個 label 佢自殺人士或者呢個女仔啦曾經自殺過啦死唔去啦 like that it's kind of label so what do they think about themselves in relationship with this suicidal problem 即係佢自己同呢個行為有咩關係 How do you describe yourself about this story relating to suicide Okay, yeah. So 即係俾佢豐厚啲同埋唔係淨係批判話一味話呢樣嘢唔啱，咁嗰個人就唔會同你講噶啦，係咪啊？即係 if you keep judging the person, if you keep saying 你唔應該咁，你唔應該咁樣，嗰個人就唔會同你講嘢。我諗你哋年青人好明白啦，係嘛？即係 if you want to talk about it with the person, you have to be open-minded and you have to build a relationship with the person and you have to accept the person before the person will tell you anything. Okay? 好，係咯，咁係咯，啲朋友間嘅幫助係好重要啦。And then, okay, so what if a friend say to you, like just now, this student very good to share this story. What if you see some friends in Instagram what do you do? So your classmate have done a very good thing that they tell the teacher, right? 即係話俾你信任嘅人知，係咪啊？ You tell somebody you trust, and 即係咪話，即係咪應該要保密啊？係咪要尊重佢，唔好講啊？ Well, safety, this is this kind of a suicidal issue override the confidentiality. So we should seek help or encourage the person to seek help, and it's okay to talk about it, but we should facilitate. If you can't handle it, facilitate the person to seek professional help or teacher or somebody they trust, their parents, in an appropriate time, in appropriate support. Encourage the person and accompany the person 陪伴嗰個人。And then if the person is in immediate danger， 如果嗰個人係真係好危險啊，喺度危乎喺度坐喺度揈揈腳啦，喺個天台嗰度啦，係嘛？ If somebody really in danger, last semester this student also shared with me, she really, when she was busy with her homework and she friend text her and say that, wow, I'm going up to jump like this. So you must immediately seek help. 即係有啲時間有啲情況係唔等得㗎啦。Okay, you have to seek help and monitor the person, help the person, assess the person. If the person tell the person, if the person can assess to very dangerous methods or self-harm method, and get in touch with the person they trust, and try to be connect with the person with more people to support. So I would tell you, okay, how do we do the assessment? Just a brief. Okay, you guys we are not professional. We are not professional psychologists or teachers. We are not professional clinical psychologists. But you also can help. If you can do some assessment, 可以試下做一啲即係危機嘅去睇下有幾危險。即係你睇下呢個咧係 PIMP 啊，即係佢有冇 plan。佢有冇計劃 ？If she have a plan or he had a plan， 有冇嗰啲方法？有冇啲 attempts？ 即係有冇啲已經係我上次都我哋有之前咧I also experienced this student went to this elderly center to do a practicum， 去有個中心去做實習，跟住遇到一個長者係真係話佢已經會買咗條繩喺屋企跟住佢話俾我哋個學生聽 that she told my student. So we have to immediately report back to her social worker to seek help. 要 mon 住睇下佢係咪真係有好急切，佢會唔會即刻if you do not do anything, will she really die in the coming 24 hours? 你做啲 assessment 真係咪急？係咪真係有啲真係最急嗰啲係 maybe the most urgent 真係危乎咁坐喺嗰條橋隔離啦，危乎坐喺個 if she really sit beside 喺香港就最多人係跳樓嘅。香港即係因為你太高咧，實死冇生㗎，係咪？ It's very dangerous in Hong Kong, because there are a lot of high skyscrapers 好多嗰啲高樓大廈。你諗下，如果幾十層嗰啲你揸都冇得剩啦，係咪？ So if the person really sitting in the building, then you cannot wait. You have to report, 甚至乎 call the police or call the ambulance. You cannot wait. Okay? So, but then if the person,我買一條繩，買啲毒藥，I bought some poison, I bought something in the house, or I'm planning to buy that, or something like that. So you have to judge whether the person is having very immediate danger, then you have to seek help. Okay? 咁呢度 I'm not going to go into the detail, but you can see there's a Shall We Talk Hong Kong, some emergency helplines. 有啲香港好多嘅，其實有好多嗰啲熱線撒瑪利亞人防止自殺會有好多store helpline. You can call them for help, or you can the most simple dial 999. Okay, so or you seek help. It's most important if you cannot handle by yourself. Okay, understand? 有冇問題啊呢 part？ OK 啊，OK。 Yeah, 你都仲有啲 warning sign 嘅。There's some other warning sign that some people, then maybe not immediately they would do that, but they are thinking about it, they're planning about it. 有啲就可能嗰啲佢哋好心愛嘅物件啦，佢又會俾人啦，啲玩具啊，有啲年青人儲一啲某啲嘢啊，then 跟住 maybe they give away their very beloved belongings， 即係好似搞啲身後事啊。佢哋 maybe 寫個遺書啊，搞掂啲銀行嗰啲，they sort out their bank accounts or their insurance like that。跟住就 they search for ways to kill themselves in the internet, or they keep thinking about it, or they talk about it, they mention about it, or they sometimes they 即係有同佢講嘢，好似佢都冇咩反應，或者 sometimes they have very low in reaction, they keep thinking about something。即係好似入咗格咁樣啊 or 即係佢或者佢有時會 drop some hints, sometimes they drop some hints, some indirect or direct clues, or maybe they fear withdraw， 有啲人可能唔見咗一排，有啲朋友啊 some friends they don't come out for the gatherings anymore and they always hiding themselves， 即係好耐都唔見人啊嗰啲嚇，咁你要小心咯。Or maybe they say they say something like 我頂唔順啊 I cannot go on anymore, if I die 就即係乜嘢問題都冇晒啦，I wish I were dead， 即係好快就會完㗎啦呢單嘢，some maybe it will end soon， my husband is better off without me， my father is better off without me， 佢哋冇咗我仲好啦，即係呢啲咁嘅字眼嚇都要小心。要留意吓 yeah okay so be careful, some people say things like that, there may be some meaning behind it. Better you ask, stop and ask more of the questions about why they say something like that. Okay, yeah. And then in Hong Kong, I think there's a lot of policy that we can do to prevent this suicidal behavior. Like in Hong Kong, we are lucky that we don't have it's not easy for us to access the guns. In America, it's so easy to buy guns, right? It's easy to kill themselves and kill somebody. But if you can, but in Hong Kong also a very free place. 香港都好自由啊，你去啲藥房咧，好多嘢都買到噶。You can buy a lot of toxin or a lot of medicine you can buy. Maybe knives, things like that. You can access to all these things. And then also the media also can be responsible. 有好多時即係嗰啲網上咧都你揾到好多呢啲方法。You can access many ways to kill yourself, like that is the media, the internet also. So I think actually, well, it should be restricted, but well, it's hard because we always in Hong Kong we talk about freedom, right? So actually people can easily kill themselves because it's so easy for them to access the ways, the means, and also alcohol. Sometimes some people they drink and they take drugs. 唔知有冇睇過A Star is Born, that movie? 即係唔好講個劇透啦 but it's also talk about alcoholism and drug abuse and people easily to kill themselves. 你有時你冇勇氣去自殺 but after you drink some alcohol, after you take some drugs, you have more guts, you don't think about it. It's easy to kill yourself after you get drunk and you take drugs. Okay, so in Hong Kong it's very free for us to access alcohol and drugs. Quite easy. So it's there are problems also. So the whole society we are all responsible, not only the person who do it. If you have friends, so we are all responsible to care about our friends and family, about their mental health status. I encourage you, after taking this course, I encourage you to be a good peer counselor. At least 即係幫朋友可以傾多啲偈啊！有冇啲同學都做緊呢啲嘢㗎？ Some students they like to talk to friends, right? 即係 care about friends. Yeah, some people do that, right? We care about our friends. 係身邊嘅同學、朋友、家人。We are all responsible. We are in one big community, and we are all in one actually. In a lot of beliefs 喺 Taoism 都係我哋係合一嘅。In Buddhism, in Christianity, we also originated from one. 咁所以都係I encourage you to collaborate with other people. So what you're doing is good. You took this course and you are doing it already. You are talking to the elderly. You are spending your time taking this course, learning this. I really encourage you as you're doing a good job. And, I'm sure you are contributing to listen to the elderly and you also in these classes, you also sit beside later on, I'll give you some time. I want to talk less. I want you guys to talk more. So I want you guys to, you always 2 by 2. You can discuss, at least you can talk with your fellow classmate. And then we can, if everybody can do that, we can build a very good quality community to help each other and we are not alone. Okay. So I like to give you a bit time, 20 minutes, coming 20 minutes. You also practice again. After hearing this class, what your reflection is, you talk in 10 minutes, you talk, you listen, work in two by 2, okay, always 2 by 2. 10 minutes, what you think after you hearing this class or any experience you come across, because I talk so much and then now is the time for you to talk with your groupmate. And then the other 10 minutes, you swap around and you practice your non-directive questioning. Again, you can do that. You can prepare yourself for the second interview again. So you practice yourself and then you can listen to your fellow classmate, the problems or what they encounter in their own problems or their family problems or the other people's problem or the experience they come across about suicide. Okay. So yeah, again, I have a lot of references here. You are welcome to use these references for your upcoming research and reflection paper.